Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of 3rd and 20 Dynasty Podcast. It's JT, it's Frank, it's Lounis. No Jake. Shout out to Jake's grandpa. Happy birthday, Mr. Jake.
Sell all Ravens. Sell all Ravens.
All right, there's your
Still
Jake.
up there.
There's your Jake Phil of the episode. All right, gotta kick us off. We're talking about the NFC North this week, but we gotta start off with some news and notes. My guy, Rob Gronkowski, retired. Awful blow in the 3rd and 20 stonk market.
Yeah, brutal.
Frank and I picked him up for a little over 1,000 points, thinking we got a steal that he was going to rise as soon as he signed. Well, he's just not going to. Now, I'm not sure. Even like immediately after he said his retirement, his agent was like, "Yeah, like he's not ruling out coming back middle of the season if Tom Brady calls him." Blah blah blah. So it kind of sounds like Gronk's just tired of the whole practicing and training camp and everything. And
Just doesn't want to practice.
Yeah, you need me for games, I'll be here. Otherwise, leave me alone. So, I mean, maybe Gronk does come back, but what we talking about with this Bucks receiving core? Is there any buys on this team now, or are they all going to just be overvalued?
First thing we got to talk about is the tight ends, right? Because Cameron Brate is probably the obvious winner from this, but Cade Otton, there's a rookie there out of Washington. I'm pretty sure he was Lance Zierlein's highest graded tight end coming into the draft. So I think that his stock is definitely on the rise. We have Brate in our rebuild league. I have Brate in like 2 other leagues. I don't even remember picking him up. Apparently I have him. Picked up Otton for cheap in a couple leagues. Is there any tangible price increase here? Is there any? Because I'm probably looking to sell. I understand Cameron Brate is a guy. I'm pretty sure he's had 2 tight end 1 seasons before. But my first inclination is if I can get any reasonable price, like a third? If I don't have to do any pick swaps and I can get a third, I think I'd do that, especially in our rebuild league. Like, is that unreasonable? What are you guys thinking?
I think in some leagues you could swing a third. I think in most leagues you're probably gonna still have to like pick swap your way into a third. Like I'll give up a 4th and Brate for a third, but even then I think I'd still do it because it's just he's not the guy. Like it took like a crazy Jameis Winston offense and very disappointing OJ Howard for Cameron.
Also,
Brate
just him being a couple years younger. He's how old is Cameron Brate now? Like
he's 30, I believe.
Oh, it's actually younger than I thought. Age. I'm just looking up how old he is.
I'm not.
Oh, he is 30. Okay, he's not as old as I thought. I don't think
I want to sell him for less than a third, though. I think I'll offer him out for a third, but I think other than that, I'm probably willing to hold. I guess the big downside is if you think they're going to sign one of those free agent tight ends, maybe a Jared Cook. I'm pretty sure there's that one dude. Remember the guy who was on the Jets that got traded to the Vikings who stinks?
Chris Herndon?
Yeah, Chris Herndon. Like, I'd actually be happy if they signed him. Like,
I think. Go ahead, Liz.
I was gonna say for me, the kind of interesting player now on that offense, because still I don't think they expect Chris Godwin around sometime mid-season, maybe sometime between week 6 through 10. Russell Gage is the one who's interesting to me now on that offense. JT, I know you do not like Russell Gage.
Yeah, I'm just not interested.
I don't think it's worth buying him, though. I don't think it's worth buying.
Well, what do we think his price is?
There's no way you're getting him for less than a second. That is the minimum price that I think any reasonable Gage is going to be selling for. And even then, if you're offering late seconds this year, I have Gage in a bunch of leagues. I am not accepting a late second for Gage. Unless, maybe earlier in the year when Trey McBride and David Bell were falling for whatever reason in my drafts to 210, 211, that I'd think about it. But now that the ADP of those guys has increased to like the middle, early parts of the second round, no shot.
Yeah, so, no, I was going to bring up, would you guys rather have 210 or 209 or Russell Gage?
I'm taking Gage.
210, 209.
I think I'm taking Gage.
Here, I have 2 points I want to make. One, Cameron Brate kind of just feels like Gerald Everett, where it's just like you're going to hype up the player with his opportunity and everything, and then he just consistently falls flat. Like that's how I feel about Cameron Brate. And then 2, and I'm gonna say the same about Cade Otton. Even if he has an incredible season on this team, like I don't think his value is going anywhere. Like Kyle Pitts had one of the best rookie seasons ever, and he's still around Kyle Pitts territory, which like he's still very valuable, but his value didn't go up at all. Russell Gage, I just think with Gronk not signing with this team, it opens the door for the players like Julio Jones or Will Fuller or someone of that caliber to come in, because now, okay, we don't have to spend that money on Gronk. We have a player who's injured in Chris Godwin that won't be coming back. We have another player who literally left at halftime, and Antonio Brown that's not here. Like we should get someone to help out Tom Brady. Like this team is designed to run through Tom Brady, and so let's get a Will Fuller or Julio Jones or someone of that nature to kind of fill the void.
I think Gage was that signing though. Because unless I think they may have had an idea in Gronk because it wasn't coming back, but the Gage signing in free agency, that was after they already knew AB wasn't coming back and that they were going to be missing Godwin for a decent part of the year.
I think Gage is just an underrated player. He's a good player. I'm not sure he's worth the price tag, but I think he's going to be a flex play this season. I think he's going to be. And he was decent at LSU too. Like I don't know. I feel like Gage has been underrated for so long. I'm with you. I guess that's why I have him in a bunch of leagues.
Yes.
All right. Gronk retiring could mean more routes for Rachaad White.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think it's
White's irrelevant.
To me, I think it's if we're gonna pick a player on their team right now. Let's take out of the potential what JT was saying with free agent signings to bring in new guys. I think the winner outside of the tight end position is Scotty Miller. Hilariously enough. I think Scotty Miller, if this team is going to run one tight end now, because last year they were running Brate and Gronk a ton, like way more than people thought they would run 2 tight end sets, especially in the playoffs. Dude, if they're just going to stick with one tight end and go with these 3-4 receiver sets, then Scotty Miller's probably the guy who's going to play. He was injured for a lot of last year. 2 years ago, he was pretty like low key nice, good deep threat, but I don't know if he stays healthy. He's someone who might go into flex territory. I don't think he'll be consistent enough, but he's essentially free. Hello guys, what do you think about Deshaun Watson set? Oh, here the Deshaun Watson, we couldn't avoid it.
I mean, the NFL spokesperson came out and said today that today's news is going to have no effect on what they decide to discipline him with. So it's still, we're just waiting.
I mean, his price has definitely gone up. Dude, his price on keep trade cut, I understand the keep trade cut isn't the end all be all. He dropped from like top 12, 15 player down to like a late first value. I think it's got to be going back up. The fact that he's able to sell a lot of these, that's 100% positive news, at least for me. I don't understand this stuff. That sounds freaking positive.
2-3 weeks ago, he was quarterback 7, and now he's quarterback 19. So that brings you from the likes of Russell Wilson and Dak to the likes of Mac Jones, which is a crazy drop. Yeah. Kirk Cousins, that's who he's sandwiched between right now. He's more in the Mac Jones realm, though, in terms of overall points. But I don't know. I think it'll be a year suspension. I think the NFL might come down harder, to be honest, but then appeals will get it to be a year-long suspension.
I've seen the NFLPA is really trying to back Watson, but at the same time, the NFLPA has been getting dunked on for years now. Like,
yeah, I just based on what happened with Ezekiel Elliott's case, where it was still 6 games I can't see it. My guess is with JT, where I guess a year. I can't see it being less than 8 to 10 games he misses. I can't see it being less than that.
Did Jake get a haircut?
No, that's still Jake.
That's Jake.
It looks the same if you ask me.
Yeah, Jake, what do you think about the Deshaun Watson scenario? So all Ravens. All right, dude, chill.
I agree. P to the R. Gronk coming back for a playoff run. definitely.
Yeah, but that doesn't help in fantasy. Yeah.
Yeah, weeks 10 through 12. You could definitely use that. All right. Moving on to the next segment. Are we good? Done with the news and notes?
Yeah, this is a segment that I came up with, so I'll explain it. All right.
Okay.
I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory on the doc. So, here's a situation that I'm in, actually in our home league more so, but there's other leagues that I'm thinking about this. To give a little bit of context, I have been very against buying on the hype young top tier wide receivers. I have been much more on the side of selling, trying to, I guess, tear down is the way to put it, but like,
yeah,
a bad example, but off the top of my head, right? Trading Mike Evans for a first and Jamison Crowder, something along the lines of that, right? Or it doesn't have to be another receiver that you're getting back, but that's just an example off the top of my head. That's what I've been trying to do in a lot of my leagues. I feel like it's been pretty successful. But in our home league especially, like I'm looking at my roster, lost the championship last year, and to me, I just feel like I'm in that position. My third receiver is Tyler Lockett. I have Gallup and Odo, who are both injured players. So, like, I have some other receivers, Tim Patrick, Rondale Moore, players of that nature, but you don't really want to put them in a receiver spot. And then I have like a ton of running backs to fill out the flex. I'm honestly thinking about not haven't decided, but this is why I want to talk about in the pod. Is it worth splashing out cash for a top tier receiver? So the first group, right, is the two guys in the tier of their own, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson. The creme de la creme, right? The problem is that I got to shell out over 3 firsts of value to have the manager, the roster of these guys reasonably accept that offer. And then you kind of have the tier 2 where I have these guys grouped in there: CeeDee Lamb, AJ Brown, T. Higgins, DK. I think a lot of people would group Waddle in there.
Yeah.
But it's a little bit shaky. Some guys think Waddle's the bee's knees. Other guys think he's like wide receiver 15. So I kept him out for now. Where you probably have to shell out 2+ first, assuming that these are like late-esque firsts, not like top tier quality first. Let's take those out of the equation. Is it worth giving this type of capital, these amount of assets, to pick up one of these receivers, or should I, in this scenario, just look to bargain buy more?
The tier 2 becomes interesting, especially kind of like the tier right after that, where maybe you get into guys like Deontay Johnson, Waddle, DJ Moore. I think that's probably my favorite issue about them, because if you're buying guys like Chase and Jefferson, as amazing as they are and they're going to be for the rest of their careers, you're already paying maximum price. They're already wide receivers 1 and 2. You get what I'm like? It's you're not like trying to think like, oh, I'm buying them and then it's like they're young. They'll be like, you're already paying for that absolute max price. Versus like if you get 3 firsts back from that, depending on where they are, like you see how much like a first round receiver's value can jump up if they just have a somewhat decent rookie year, and you can flip that for way more value. Like say if you traded Jefferson for 3 firsts, one of your firsts was like Waddle, you got like Devontae Smith and random other firsts. Those guys now you can flip for insane value. So giving up like 3 receivers for someone, just not just even like Chase Jefferson in this case, but let's just say like, I don't know, like Jonathan Taylor at running back 1. It's like risky. I think someone like Pitts is kind of the exception, or maybe like a QB1 like Allen or Mahomes. But for like wide receivers, running backs, it's hard to find myself like ever trying to like actually considering like a monster trade like that.
I'm gonna take the contrarian point on this, because I just think I wouldn't do it for the likes of a DK or an AJ Brown or a Jalen Waddle, T. Higgins. Those guys just at their price, they feel like they might even, CeeDee Lamb especially, they feel overvalued. But if you're in the position that someone like Frank is, where he's got a very stacked roster, it's already made it to the finals, like this is a team where you just need to like consolidate your talent and just build this monster of a starting lineup. And so someone like Justin Jefferson, who's getting you easily 18 plus points a game, is that extra step that's going to take you into the championship finals and give you a better shot of winning. I mean, I know once you make the playoffs, it's all kind of luck, but when you can build such a sick roster, without giving up any of your current players, I think at the end of the day, it's about winning the trophies. So normally I'm against, sacrificing some value to win, but this is kind of the point of the game, is you want to win championships. And it's not like you're getting like an overvalued player. You're getting Justin Jefferson, or
you're just
Jamar
paying
Chase.
at peak value.
Sure, but at peak value, right? Like what's the price tag on, say you had Mike Evans and his like 8 straight seasons of 1,000 yards, which I think Justin Jefferson's even on pace to be like better than Mike Evans.
Yeah.
Like say you're getting that at the start of his career or 2 years into his career, right? Like what's the price tag on that? What is the price on that? Knowing, because going further, like there's very few players I feel much more confident in than Justin Jefferson and his like 5-year outlook.
That's right. And Jamar Chase. The thing I'll say to this, you brought up Frank's example. I think in Frank's situation where you have a good team with that much draft capital, I understand it more. Are you thinking the same way if you're a team where, let's just say you have all your firsts, but it's like just one for each year going forward? Like you just have your picks. Are you thinking the same way?
I give up a 2022, 2023, 2024 first.
Yeah. For like a Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson.
Assuming like I don't think these firsts are going to be early. Yeah.
Let's say you have a solid team.
Like if I think I'm a playoff contender each time, like I get that. I mean, looking down the road, all right, let's play it out. 107 this year is Sky Moore. I like Sky Moore, but he's not Justin Jefferson. He's not going to be. Next year's late first, I'm going to project to be someone like Raheem Jarrett, Addison.
Well, let's do a real quick off the top mock, right? All right.
Okay.
The Texas running back with Bijan 1.
Bryce Young.
Let's go Bryce Young 2.
Stroud,
and then the next couple: Stroud, Kayshon Boutte, Jordan Addison, Michael Mayer's probably up there.
Smith and Jigba.
Sean Tucker, Smith and Jigba. That's 8 players that I all really like, right? Okay, maybe the order is a little bit out of order, but
yeah.
So who's after? You kind of get your pick out after those type of dudes.
Like a Raheem Jarrett, it feels like.
Josh Downs might be one of them.
If any QB blows up this year.
Is Quentin Johnston, is he coming out next year? So you can get some decent players. Well, that's a strong draft class too.
I just think like what we've seen with Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, we've kind of gotten spoiled in that regard, where it's back-to-back years of, well, now there's 18 games, but on a per game basis, back-to-back years of rookie record-breaking numbers. Yeah. We're not going to get that. It's not like these guys aren't the generational talents that Jamar Chase is.
Well, no, I like the Mike Evans example. I think Mike Evans is a good way to put it. You think you're investing in a Mike Evans at the beginning of his career.
What's the price?
But like, again, that's an ideal scenario. And while I do think Jamar Chase and Jefferson are going to follow that side of just being consistent, like 1,000-yard receivers every year, you also have the situations with like Odell 2 years in was like the easy wide receiver one.
Yeah, I agree.
He would have had like a price like that.
I think at the same time, though, you're more likely, if we're taking Justin Jefferson's outlook, it's way more likely he's going to be Mike Evans than Odell at this point. All right, if I'm going to be a betting man, I think he's going to be Mike Evans. Not that he can't be Odell. It's just, if you look at the odds and the production that he's had, this dude's he's on pace to be an absolute stud muffin. My question isn't even necessarily about, I mean, it is partly about the price, because you got to shell out more than 3 firsts if they're all projected late. But the other factor we're not looking at, what's going on, Sand Banjo? Good name, dude. Is it just more worth it to invest in someone cheaper? Because my issue with the team right now is that Tyler Lockett was a great wide receiver 3 last year. I don't want Tyler Lockett now as a flex player. If I'm trying to win the championship, I don't want flex players in starting positions. That's the issue I have. So I could go balls out, spend all the cash to get a Justin Jefferson. But is it more worth it to, let's say, buy Darnell Mooney or someone I was thinking about, Christian Kirk? Is it more worth it to spend like a fifth of the price and get one of these types of dudes two players I both project to be the number one target on their team? Christian Kirk, I don't even have to pay a first for. And he might produce a low-end wide receiver 1 season, high-end wide receiver 2.
If you're looking to go that route, I think if you're going that way, I think I would just spend on someone like a Stephon Diggs, where he's not significantly more than Darnell Mooney. Like, I'm just looking right now. I mean, Stephon Diggs, 5,500 on Keep Trade Cut. Darnell Mooney's somewhere like 4,200. So, like, you know, you got to pay up a little bit more. But Stephon Diggs is someone that I know is the wide receiver 1 on his team. Like, I know he's going to get a ton of volume. Like, I know he's going to help me win a championship. Where Darnell Mooney, it's still up in the air. Like,
yeah, you're right about that. There's definitely more risk in Mooney and Christian Kirk and those types of guys.
That's why I kind of find the middle ground that I prefer is not like in the tier where you pay a fifth of the price, but maybe in the tier where I don't know what the percentage would be, but like guys like I mentioned, like DJ Moore, trying to get a mid first this year to try to get like a Garrett Wilson.
I feel like we're back into the tier 2 though, which we both of you guys initially were like, okay, CeeDee Lamb, AJ Brown, T. Higgins, no. I think the problem is that I have to pay a pretty darn similar, okay, albeit a little bit less, but pretty darn similar price to those guys. More so than, oh, I'm actually saving a lot. Does that make any sense? That's why I'm, I guess, a little bit tentative to buy a player like Stephon Diggs.
I mean, at the end of the day, if you're going in on Stephon Diggs, why not just try and pay it? So
because I think you convinced me earlier in the show. I think you're right. I'd rather just pay the extra. If I have the extra cash, I think I'd rather just pay it to get Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, that's what like in a position that you're in, and you're getting this. Like, you're kind of unique though in the regards of you have a ton of first round picks and you have a crazy good team. Yeah, right now, like a team that has already made it to the playoffs. I'm just looking right now the difference between Justin Jefferson and Stephon Diggs and Keep Trade Cut. I'm being told it's a CeeDee Lamb's worth of value.
Well, I think there's a decent amount of teams, maybe not at the receiver position, but I think there's plenty of teams that, like if you look at r/Dynasty, there's plenty of Reddit-made teams where they're really young, they have a ton of talent, they still have some picks. It's just, okay, do we hold the picks? Do we keep playing for value or do we transfer? Usually I'd be like, okay, the big problem is depth. But I don't need depth. I want a wide receiver 3 that's going to win me a championship. And I guess it is a little bit of a unique position, but I think most after a couple years in dynasty leagues, I feel like a couple teams will reach that position where it's like, I'm trying not to perfect the roster in the offseason, but I also am trying to perfect my roster in the offseason.
Yeah. At the end of the day, I just think like you're going to want those top tier players winning. You're going to want a mix across the board of a veteran who's very good in the likes of Stephon Diggs, and then the likes of Justin Jefferson having that elite long term, kind of where you're just like replenishing year after year, where, okay, eventually in 2-3 years, Stephon Diggs is not going to be putting up wide receiver 1 numbers, but I still have Justin Jefferson for those years. And I have that first coming up that's going to, that's how you keep the dynasty churning. So to me, I think like, I wish I could see like who the top players were on winning teams last year. Like that's definitely something I could look up. I just don't have it in front of me.
Cooper Kupp was probably on a huge percentage.
Cooper Kupp and Deebo Samuel, I would assume. But it's the top. It's the guys that consistently get you top points, and then just random variants in the likes of Cordero Patterson and I guess Cooper Kupp to some extent, but you can't really plan around that random variance. I just would rather go and get the studs and then kind of work around that variance.
Yeah, it's definitely fair. It's an interesting discussion. If Jefferson is the final piece for a number of years, go get him. You guys are convincing me.
I think that's also a factor of like, that's an all-in type move. You have to feel ready to do that.
I hate that though. I hate that. I don't like all-in moves. I think all-in moves are fugazi.
Well, that's the point. That's the point he was just making, though. He said,
I think the thing is,
final piece.
It's not an all-in move though. In the terms of like, you could still move on, assuming Justin Jefferson doesn't just completely fall flat on his face. Which, I mean, you have to assume every player falls flat on his face then, because like Justin Jefferson feels like one of the most surefire things right now. Like, assuming he doesn't fall flat on his face. If you don't like what you did, you could definitely just trade him next year for very similar value. I don't see him falling out of the top 5 receivers.
I don't mean that it's not like liquid, but I just mean like in terms of what he's saying, Jefferson final piece. Like if you're telling me that one of the first I'm giving up is a top 6 pick next season, like I missed the playoffs, that's going to be an extremely valuable player. Like I think how much is Stroud?
Sure, but this team,
Smith-Njigba.
With a team like Frank's, though, that's not. I mean,
again, though,
that's what's concerning me about paying less, but going for a guy like a CeeDee Lamb is that, okay, let's say right now I trade a projected late first. All of a sudden next year, Jordan Addison is available at pick 6 or 7. It's like, well, is he really that much worse of a prospect than CeeDee Lamb? Okay, yeah, I understand CeeDee Lamb has kind of shown it in the NFL, but it's not like you weren't getting an extra first plus on top of that.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think it's fair.
Also, am I a fraud? Am I a fraud then? I've been the guy saying I wasn't saying to sell Justin Jefferson, but like sell off the young receivers, and now I'm coming back and buying them.
I can't go on the side of.
I think there's a difference.
I don't think I could pull the trigger on something crazy like that many multiple first years in advance, because I think Frank did bring up a good point. Like we could say 3 firsts, but if you're a legitimate like really good playoff team, it's probably going to take a little bit more than those 3 late firsts for like a Jefferson or Jamar Chase.
There's also a difference though between sell the young receivers and you're talking about the likes of Deontay Johnson, Jalen Waddle, CeeDee Lamb, like those kind of players, and then sell Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. Like those are very different.
No, because I mean you can kind of still keep your youth. Like you could sell a Waddle or a CD and get Elijah Moore plus. You're still getting like a young, really good prospect, and then more on top. I guess it ultimately depends on what that plus is, but
yeah, it's just almost which players are worth overpaying for, because we're getting to that point in the season where everyone's a contender for the most part. Not everyone. Yeah, there will be like 1 or 2 rebuilders in some leagues, but to get people to move these types of players off their team, you need to do this at least a slight overpay. You know, very rarely you're getting a player that's like really worth getting, that's trending up, that someone's like, hell yeah, I'll sell you to him at consensus price. Hell yeah. Like, no, if I want to get Cortland Sutton, I need to slightly overpay for Cortland Sutton.
Yeah. In leagues that I'm in, I've gone out of my way to go and get Kyle Pitts, and I have the sole intent of just holding Kyle Pitts. Like it would take an extreme overpay for me to move on from Kyle Pitts, and I'm sure that's how many people feel about the likes of Justin Jefferson.
What would you want on top of Jamar Chase for Kyle Pitts?
Your second.
Well, dude, for any of those, if you're not trying to move this is why the price is so high. Like, if there's a top 10 dynasty asset, which JT believes that those guys are, and anyone that has them is going to believe him, the minimum to get the negotiation started is probably 3 firsts.
Yeah.
Because then all of a sudden you have a foundation of pieces that's like, okay, now we can get started.
And I think there's interesting scenarios within that. Like if you're trying to get a Jamar Chase, what if like you're trying to get Jamar Chase and you're using, I don't know, like a Jonathan Taylor to try to get them? Where it's like, the thing that made me think about that is like what you mentioned with those top 10 prospects. JT was involved in a trade where it's 2 top 10 guys, but you're using another top 10 guy to acquire them. I think that
Jonathan Taylor for Pitts in 107 this year.
Jesus Christ, that was such a good trade.
Well, that's the other thing. I feel like when trading top end players, it's just more worth it. I don't really trade for super stud muffins, I guess. That's just not really how I roll. I'm more of I like to nickel and dime my way, I guess. But from the trades that I have seen and done, I just feel like it's way more worth it to trade other top players to get the other top players you want, rather than outright buy them with draft picks. That's the other reason I don't want to do this for Justin Jefferson.
I'll say the only position where I definitely don't think I do something like that is go all in is running back. Just because it's such, unless you're telling me I'm getting CMC at the start of his career, like it's very hard to go all in on running back and then just have maybe 2 years of like assured production. You know, like you can feel confident that his value will stay similar. Because, I mean, just go 2 years ago and look at the running back top 10 values and top 10 ADP, and it's completely different to this one. So that's probably the only position where I probably wouldn't go. Like, you won't really catch me giving up 3 firsts for Jonathan Taylor. Like, I think I could get somewhat similar production from the likes of Zeke if I need to go all in theoretically and try and win this year. So... You know, that's a position I won't. But if I think it's a player that's going to be like matter, like a position that matters, and he's going to be relevant on my team for 5 years, like I'm going to go in and I'm going to get the Mahomes and Justin Herberts and Josh Allens of the world. I'm going to go and get Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. I'm going to get Kyle Pitts. I just think those are foundational pieces that I could build around that are like, they're giving me such an expected points over average. Like they're giving me a head start, essentially, where I can then build around other players like that I think are undervalued, like a Keenan Allen or Mike Evans or those kind of guys, Jarvis Landry, for example. And I can fill in the rest of the spots with those guys where I'm not paying Jerry Jeudy prices, but I'm still getting that kind of production.
Yeah, it's fair. All right.
Long way of going about that, but
I think you guys have definitely convinced me against trying to get the CD Lambs of the world.
CD Lamb's just someone I think is very overvalued right now. I mean, sorry if you're a CD Lamb truther, but it's just, I get that Amari Cooper is no longer there, but Amari Cooper only had like a 20% target share on Dallas anyway. Like I just think like CeeDee Lamb's consistently, he had 111 targets last year. He had 120 targets this year. Like, I just think that's the kind of player he is, which is fine. Like, that's a very good role, but I think you're like a fringe wide receiver 1 at that point. Like, that's where your points are going to be. And at the price that he's at, which he's like wide receiver, I don't know, 3 or 4 right now on Keep Trade Cut, it's just too expensive for my liking.
Yeah, I agree. I think the one thing with CD Lamb, though, is just like, okay, who's the younger, better prospect, though? You know, with that production I think that's the problem. Is that it's more, more about but they have a tangible price difference. Like you compare CD Lamb to the other tier 2s, it's like, I agree with you. I think it might be more of a thing that those tier 2 receivers in general are overrated more so than CD Lamb himself, because I agree. I think I'd like for a price. I think there's plenty of better receivers than CD Lamb, but when push comes to shove, I think it's hard to put him out of the top 5 receivers.
Yeah, I mean, I'll speak as the guy who's a CD Lamb guy here. I think I don't think it's fair to anyone like his age, where it's, what is he, 24 or younger, to say like, oh, this is just who he's gonna be. And then I think, at least how I see CD, I think he's going to be someone who's like 1,000-yard plus receiver for the next however many years. But I think that's the appeal more so with him and how he'll just be like the number one paired with Dak for the future. But I don't know. We'll see. I do agree though with that overall tier being like overpriced a little bit.
Anyone
I
can
don't think
trade
it's
for a
CD
known
individually.
stud. Some dynasty managers want the ego boost of finding someone who gets there but isn't there yet. But there's more risk in that. I'm definitely the ego boost guy. I want to
Yeah.
find the UDFA who becomes a stud. That's my favorite thing to do. I think that's more of a bad thing than a good thing, unfortunately. All right.
Yeah, that's how you end up with, 6 Marquez Callaways and Travis Fulghams for the one James Robinson.
And that's also how you end up with 40 draft picks in all your leagues, most of which are 4ths and 5ths.
Yeah, I still don't know what your plan's going on there. All right, we're going to move on, though. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
NFC North.
Okay.
Bada boom. Overvalued, undervalued. For those who don't know, we are going through every division in football and rating basically every fantasy relevant football player that's on Keep Trade Cut, overvalued or undervalued. This week, we're doing the NFC North, and we are starting it off with Chicago Bears quarterback Justin Fields.
I'd go for like an epic intro there.
Coming to a football field near Chicago is an overvalued quarterback named Justin Fields.
Oh, no, don't do that. Don't do that.
Come on.
So somehow Jake snuck in here and was able to put in all his unders and overs, but Jake, myself, and Lounis agree. Undervalued Justin Fields. I don't know, Frank. I guess you're the odd one out.
Well,
here
when you say overvalued, are you mostly looking at the point total, or are there like QBs ranked behind him that you'd rather have than Justin Fields?
I just don't want Justin Fields at his price.
So that would be point value.
Someone I think that Zach Wilson is a better player prospect, and I'd just rather have him. I'd rather have Trevor Lawrence. I'd rather have Trey Lance. I think realistically, I'd have Justin Fields around Mac Jones. I understand that's lower than consensus, but I just don't really. I'm just not a Justin Fields guy. He's going in the second round of startups. I want nothing to do with
Fields.
I will say with Fields points value wise, the difference between him and QB 11, which is Trevor Lawrence, is the same as him versus QB 18, which is Mac Jones. It's 500.
Yeah. He's closer. He's closer to Mac Jones than he is to Trey Lance in terms of value. His
upside for me just has him in a tier above Mac Jones. I know Mac Jones, if you want to say the safer play, I don't know what it would have looked like if Justin Fields was drafted to New England and he was in that situation instead of Mac Jones. I think we could have been saying that, and Mac Jones was the one in like that Chicago offense with Nagy and that receiving core. I think we'd be shitting on Mac Jones like crazy. And I think Fields would have been like ranked even higher. I just, his rushing upside, I still believe in his talent. I view him as like the top. I'd move him up a spot or two before I move him down.
I don't know what the PG way of saying this is, but if Justin Fields was on the Patriots, like they would still own the Buffalo Bills. Like they would.
Yeah. Like if
this would still be the Patriots.
If him and Mac Jones switch situations, like I think it's drastically different. The perception of each of them.
I just think, and this is my draft take, and yes, I'm completely sticking to my priors. I don't give a fuck. I think that Justin Fields is more of a Marcus Mariota than he is a Kyler Murray.
Whoa.
That's my issue. Yes, he shows the flashes. Yes, he has a lot of the tools that you would want. I don't think he should be a QB1 or valued like one. That's my issue. I understand why everyone else does. I see the appeal and I see the upside. I just don't want him. I just think he's plain old for overvalued.
Joe's in chat saying, well, I think a lot of people are thinking Fields is overrated because the Bears won't get him any help. I like when Velus Jones is like your number one solution to the problem. It's just I can sympathize with what's going on there. They're setting him up for failure, but I just think he's good.
And that's the thing. Situations change. so much year to year. I'm just betting on his talent. I know his situation isn't great. I like Darnell Mooney. I like David Montgomery. We still have to see about their new coaching staff. But I'm not like, because the Bears have good receivers this year, I'm looking at a 23-year-old quarterback and being like, oh, I'm out. Like, I don't know. There's a lot that I'm basing it more on talent.
Situation isn't going to be the deciding factor on Justin Fields for me. I don't think that's the deciding factor for any young quarterback.
Yeah,
I can understand the argument if you're on the Adam Gase Jets, but the Bears offense is way more talented than the Adam Gase Jets. Even though their offensive line is Swiss cheese.
Are they that much more talented than the Adam Gase Jets?
Dude, the Adam Gase Jets, their best player by far was Jamison Crowder. I don't want to hear it.
Robbie Anderson and Jamison Crowder, and then I don't remember who the running back was.
You're gonna tell me Velus Jones is better than Robbie
Darnell
Anderson?
Mooney is easily better than any of the players.
I think if I had to rank them,
David Montgomery is a wildly better running back than any of the. Dude, he's way better than freaking. Who'd they have? Like Bilal Powell at the time.
Chris Ivory, Bilal Powell.
Yeah.
Isaiah
I mean, I think if you were to rank those receivers, it'd be Mooney, then Crowder, Anderson in the middle, then Velas.
Dude, those tight ends for the Jets were atrocious. Dude, you had Chris, I can't catch anything, Herndon. Dude, that season he had was like the worst season of a tight end I've ever seen. Like, the guy couldn't catch.
Poor Chris Herndon has gotten slandered twice this episode.
There's a reason he's a free agent right now.
After 1 year he had, people were like pretty high on him.
I think Lounis catches more passes that season.
Hey man, throw me out there.
Just a burial of Chris Herndon. Jeez.
I'm sorry, Chris Herndon. I do apologize.
His mom comments like, "Fuck you guys."
Yeah, what if that one video of Jalen Hurts? I was just like, Jalen Hurts sucks ass. Like,
yeah. If you didn't like him. Oh,
yeah,
man.
so for those who don't know, we posted a Jalen Hurts film analysis, and Jalen Hurts' mom commented on the video, which was hilarious. I did not expect. It was Pamela Hurts comment on the video. I sent it in the chat. I'm like,
Pamela.
Who is this? Like, this person? It can't be related. This has to be like a meme account, right? And then we looked it up, and it's like I see a news article from like ESPN or something like. Pamela Hurts is outraged on the tweets regarding Jalen Hurts, and it's just like, oh my god, what the hell? It was quick.
On the bright side, though, that video
after it was posted.
You talked more favorably about Jalen Hurts than negatively, so I think that was good.
Well, yeah. What happens if I was just like, yeah, this guy sucks. This guy
like
is
if you didn't like him.
I'm just looking up. The Jets' offense. It was Le'Veon Bell, Robbie Anderson, Jamison Crowder, Demaryius Thomas.
No, next year after they lost Robbie Anderson.
So, but that wouldn't be the Adam Gase Jets then.
Yeah, that was last year, Adam Gase, where they scored every first drive but didn't any score after that.
Oh yeah, maybe you're right. All right, following year. Pulling it up. Frank Gore. All right, so you're telling me a Hall of Fame player in Frank Gore, Jamison Crowder, Denzel Mims, Rashad Perriman, fantasy darling for that year, Rashad Perriman, Chris Herndon, who got absolutely
that is
slandered
awful. That is awful. With a terrible offensive line.
Two front offices decided against building around Fields. Doesn't happen to franchise quarterbacks. Well, when we're talking about the front offices that decided against building around Fields, one front office decided Sam Darnold. Let me know how that went. So that's one. And then the other front office is the one that has drafted Drew Lock, Paxton Lynch, who's Trevor Siemian. Like, these aren't the front offices I'd be pointing to and being like, yeah, these guys know their stuff. Like, that's why Justin Fields isn't good. In fact, I point to that as like pros for Justin Fields. Like,
he was still a top talent. He would have easily been the QB1 of this most recent draft class, and probably a top 10 pick.
He would have been the first. If he came out this year, he would have been the first overall.
He might have been first overall, yeah. And
he would have been like easily first overall.
You're actually probably right. And I don't know, it's like 31 teams passed on Lamar Jackson. Like, I hate using cases like that, but I don't know. I still like Fields. And what was he drafted? He was drafted what, like 12th, 11th? Like that's still a really early
11.
pick. Yeah.
All right, that's enough on Justin Fields. Jared
That
Goff.
was the first player of this thing. We're gonna go on forever.
Jared Goff.
I have
QB 30.
underrated.
He's valued probably at like a mid-late second. 27 years old. The future of Detroit.
I don't know. Future of Detroit.
I think QB 30 is a generally fair ranking because I don't think he's the future of Detroit. I would lean underrated than overrated though. I don't know if I'd like take him out of like the top 32. He'd be in my top 30 dynasty quarterbacks, but I don't. It's not like I'm like, oh, he should be like early 20.
How are you going to put him lower? Like he's a starting quarterback.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I can't put him lower, but I'm not. It doesn't mean I'm saying like buy low on him because I don't know if he's going to be starting in Detroit past this season. I could see him being a bridge QB, so maybe he starts another year or two, and then for situations where maybe teams draft a rookie and they don't want to start him right away, but. I don't think he's going to be anyone's franchise QB again. It's the main thing, but I don't think he should be outside of the top 30.
At the same time, though, like if we look at it, if there's anyone who's going to turn it around, it's former top 5 picks, like top 7 picks. If there's anyone who's going to be like, okay, this guy's a bust, and then they kind of just 180 that shit. Like,
would you guys rather have Carson Wentz or Jared Goff right now?
Carson Wentz.
I'm taking Wentz also.
Give me Goff.
The thing is, too, with Goff is I understand it was under McVay, and we saw what McVay did with Stafford. So everyone's now pointing to that, 2018 season, like, oh, it was only because Gurley, it was only because of McVay. At the end of the day, the dude had that crazy year, which shows that he does have upside. It's not like he doesn't have upside. Because I was also thinking, like, yeah, I don't want Jared Goff, but fuck, this is such a fair price to get a guy like Jared Goff at.
Yeah, he's someone that I'm cool with as my. I don't like him as my second quarterback, but he's that guy that I'm cool with filling in for bye weeks, and if someone gets injured, I very much like having Jared Goff.
This is an interesting one coming up here, and that's Aaron Rodgers, 4,600 QB 17.
I think I'm going to change my mind on him. Actually, just looking.
There's a lot of the recent reports that he's thinking about retirement, but how believable actually is that? Man, this is a tough one.
This is a really tough one.
I think he's kind of aptly valued where the player himself is better than this price, but the situation in terms of longevity and what I expect from him going forward is kind of priced in at this point. I have him currently as overrated.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you, JT.
The thing is,
I think the ranking's fair. It's just he's 38 right now. I don't know. This
is the fantasy equivalent of buying like a new Acura or like a new Honda, maybe, where it's like it's going to be a great fucking car. Screw the Acura. Let's take a Honda, like a new ass Honda. It's going to be a great car. It's going to perform well. It's going to drive great, right? But once you drive it off the lot, once you purchase it, this thing is just going to lose value. Next year the price is going to be low.
You could use any car then, if you're just going to say.
Yeah, but no, you can't use any car because a lot of those cars
as opposed to the cars that gain value post purchase.
What?
I was so lost with where see you, Frank.
Did he just leave?
Yeah.
Oh, he turned his camera.
I thought we were getting something.
Those wine cars that gain value with years.
Yeah. All right, Lewis. Well, we'll talk about Aaron Rodgers. I kind of agree with Frank, and I think what's not getting priced in as much is like he doesn't have Devontae Adams, and normally I'd be like, all right, like it's Aaron Rodgers, he can make magic, but he's got to make magic with Allen Lazard and Christian Watson. Like, I don't know.
We've
Aaron
seen
Jones
even
is going to have to take a bunch of dump offs to the house.
QBs struggle when they receive. Like we even saw, as good as he was, still Brady wasn't putting up the same crazy numbers towards those last years in New England when his receiving core became pretty much terrible. And then you see when he does get those weapons back in Tampa Bay, those touchdown numbers go up, etc. So I understand that concern. I lean the overrated just because, like you said, like especially once he hits like the 40 mark, and he could retire in any given off season, because that's the ultimate risk with him, right? It's just like you don't know. Like, it could be, if you could tell me it happened next off season, I wouldn't be surprised. 2 years from now, I wouldn't be surprised. Like,
yeah, Joe's in chat saying max 2 years for Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I think the max is 2 or 3.
Right,
And 3 would be like a really good case scenario.
Frank's already got a nice big O for Jordan Love, overrated at quarterback 37. I agree. He's just not going to be a starting quarterback, and he's currently priced as someone that's going to be a starting quarterback or could start, and he's not.
You want to know what Jordan Love is? You want to know what Jordan Love is? You know the people, I forget, I don't know their names, but what's the guy? Mason Ramsey. You know Mason Ramsey, the little yodeling guy? Yes, the yodel kid. No. He's not the yodel kid.
Okay.
The yodel kid is a meme, right? He started off as a meme, but he was able to stonk off of the meme. The guy's releasing albums. He's got like 3 million monthly listeners, right?
Yeah.
He's a meme, but he's stonked.
Maybe not anymore, but at the time when it was like blowing up.
Okay.
Jordan Love is your average meme, but he's not going to stonk. Like 99% of the memes in existence, they're not going to stonk.
Gonna age bad,
so what are you going to do? You're going to buy into a meme right as it's dying out. You're going to buy into that meme, and next year, it's going to be yesterday's news. You know, even if Rodgers retires next year, you're going to have the little bump of people saying like, well, it's Jordan Love's time to shine. Guess what the Packers are going to do? They're going to go out and draft an actually good quarterback. Or they're going to go do some Packers type shit and pick up like Jimmy G out of the grave.
Yeah.
Jordan Love is not it. Do not invest in the dying meme. Overrated.
Yeah, no. He has shown absolutely nothing. There's been no good practice reports on his end. Even he's not going to be their next QB whenever Rodgers does retire. And I think actually, if Rodgers like midway through this year, like say got an injury where he was going to be out like 6 to 8 weeks, I think they would try to trade for a QB for a cheap price, like one of the higher end backups. I think Jordan Love is going to be a career backup, if that. He's just I don't think he's good at all. There's at least 40 QBs I'd rather have.
All right, Kirk Cousins. I'm interested to see if we go across the board here. So I feel pretty good about this one, and I'm saying he's underrated, and so is Jake. Underrated for Kirk Cousins. Frank also agrees.
This is a classic Mixon paradox, because I just don't think you're really going to be able to get Kirk Cousins at this price. This is well under a first round pick valuation. I just think you're going to be like, who in their right mind, especially this year, is accepting Kirk Cousins for like a 201, a 202? I just don't think it's happening. And if you need a quarterback and you can get Kirk Cousins for that price, just break your phone, smash accepting the offer.
Also, he's currently ranked as quarterback 20. He's never, in every time he started 15 or more games, he's never finished worse than quarterback 19. He's never had a quarterback 20 season. He's got still 2 very good receivers. I mean, one of the best in the league, and then another very good one as his receivers. Like, he's primed for another quarterback 12, quarterback 11, quarterback 10 performance, and I think he's going to see. Didn't he just get extended this year too?
I was about to say that's the big thing. Like, I think maybe some people are holding out hope, like, oh, he keeps on disappointing, whether it's Minnesota or somewhere else. And Minnesota did just give him a big extension. Like, the market value he got shows that, like, across the NFL, he's still valued as a starting quarterback. Like, we see guys like who might take Jimmy G as a start. I think Kirk is a better quarterback. He's going to be starting in the NFL for a while still, and he's put up solid numbers every year. So I think
Joe Herbert brings up a great point that I wanted to bring up, is that the other interesting factor is a completely new offense, a completely new organization, not just the offense.
Yeah. This is
like, is that going to get worse for Kirk Cousins? I don't see how it gets worse.
This is a Vikings team that I think they're looking around the NFC. They just saw how many good players went to the AFC.
Those wild card spots are wide open.
I think they're looking and they're like, we have a very good shot of making the playoffs and doing damage. And
even the division
I don't know about
this
doing
year,
damage.
the Packers. I think a lot of people can agree that the Packers probably got worse this offseason.
Yeah,
they did get worse.
At least,
I mean, I guess
defense is still nasty,
unless you assumed Aaron Rodgers was for sure gone. Yeah, they lost their second.
Dude,
best
as
player.
long as the Vikings defense doesn't let Aaron Rodgers hang up 40 on him every game, I mean, they'll have an actual shot. Like,
I don't know. Aaron Jones has been a Minnesota killer for the past couple of years.
I think all of Green Bay has been a Minnesota killer.
yeah.
They've been ridiculous in the division.
No, yeah, I mean, yeah, I think those wild card spots are wide open. I think, especially in NFC, probably one of the Eagles or the Cowboys has one of those spots locked up. But then after that, it's can anyone. I think the Saints are worse.
I think the Vikings are making the playoffs, definitely. I think they're going to be, someone's not going to be happy. I think they're going to win the NFC North. I think someone's not going to be happy.
They might. Actually, I don't think it's a lock because I think there's going to be 3 NFC West teams. I think there's going to be 2 teams from the NFC East, and then that would fill up the 3 wildcard spots. Unless someone's low on the Cowboys or Eagles.
I still think Vikings win NFC North, and a team like the Cowboys are not going to be happy going to Minnesota in the winter. I know it's an indoor stadium, but you get what I mean. They're not going to be happy having to go on the road. And
all right, dude, let's get to the truth.
It does damage.
Kellen Mond.
I need to see the U next to his name. Show me the U, Frank. I need it.
It's so hard to do. It's so hard to do.
Time to grow up.
Give it to us, Frank.
Come on.
Well, fine. I'm doing it.
I've never seen a coach just shred apart one of his quarterbacks on his way out than what Mike Zimmer did.
But he's calling audibles in the offseason. You see that? He's calling
the
playbook. He knows every. Good for him.
Go ahead, JT.
He's not.
He's not good.
If you could tell me I can add a roster spot to my team right now just for free, and I could put Kellen Mond on there, like with the sole stipulation that it has to be Kellen Mond on my team, I'm gonna pass.
He couldn't win the backup job last year with the second round draft.
Kirk Cousins gets hurt and Kellen Mond, the truth, comes in there and lights up the NFL.
Kirk missed time last year, and they still didn't play Jordan Love.
He was
the third stringer.
And how did Trevor Lawrence look his rookie year? Huh?
This guy.
I mean, at least Trevor Lawrence beat out Minshew, who's probably better than the other guy in Minnesota. I don't even know.
Sean Mannion's a great quarterback.
Yeah, Sean Mannion. Jordan Love couldn't beat out the Mannion.
Yeah, Jordan Love couldn't be out of the Mannion.
No, I said Jordan Love.
I agree.
They're pretty much the same quarterback. They're pretty much the same quarterback.
Running backs. I think I'm going to be alone here. Maybe not.
Wow. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's just.
Why do you hate David Montgomery?
It's just not that exciting, to be honest. It's just like.
I think the receiving upside is what excites me.
You think he's going to catch a lot of passes?
Good player.
I think he will.
He's someone I didn't really love coming out of the draft, but I just feel like at the running back position, especially in that draft class, he's like the most improved running back in the past couple of seasons. So I feel like getting him at a mid RB2 price, I just don't think he what are the chances that he finishes outside of the top 20 as long as he's playing 15 games? I just don't see that happening.
I just think the issue is you're paying a premium for age.
I don't think RB19 for him is a premium, though. Especially when you look at
over the likes of James Conner, Leonard Fournette, and Ezekiel Elliott, who I think all will outperform him.
I take Montgomery over all 3 of those guys.
I just think that all 3 of those guys are going to have better years than David Montgomery. And for that reason, I think he's overrated.
I think he's going to be utilized a lot. I think he has receiving abilities. Just when you look at the Bears building their scheme week to week, who are your playmakers? It's him and Mooney. and then there's like a huge drop off. So I think they're going to incorporate him into a lot of I think the thing I like about Montgomery pretty much, I think he's going to be one of those guys that's like a lock for 18 to 20 plus touches per week, whether it be through carries or catches. And
You think so?
that gives me comfort. Yeah, I think so. I think that's the thing with him that I like. If you don't believe that he's going to get that many touches, then I understand why you're lower on him. But I think they're going to give him at least 18 plus a game through both carries and catches.
Yeah, I guess he'll probably get around 18, but it won't be like an exciting 18. Like he had that one run against the Packers on like primetime football. I forget.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Thursday or Sunday night. But like, it's just not exciting, like long runs. Like you're just getting 4.1 yards per carry.
No, the yards per carry isn't exciting.
He breaks a good amount of tackles. He has gotten really good at executing the run scheme. Like Lounis said, he's especially late last year getting a lot more work in the passing game. I feel like buying at this price where you can get him for a singular first round pick in a lot of leagues, very, very just decent buy.
I mean, looking at his 2020 and 2021, I mean, on per game basis, he essentially had the same, if not less, targets per game, receiving wise.
Yeah, but look, well, he's hurt last year, but look at that one.
Yeah, that's why I said on the per game basis.
Because you're right. At the beginning of the season, he was getting like no catches, but that once Justin Fields came in, he started getting a ton more receiving output.
Yeah, but how much do we expect that to remain when Justin Fields isn't dumping it off?
Well, yeah, it's a new offense too, which is interesting. But I just thought he was good as a receiver. I don't see why. And like Lounis was saying, now that the receiving talent, it's like, dude, I feel like you got to give him some touches in the receiving game.
I mean, the question is, who is that? I always feel bad doing that, though, being like, oh, who else could get these catches? Because at that point, you're kind of just pointing to like, you know.
Yeah, but I feel worse about that when it's like an unproven guy. When it's like a scrub and you're saying like, oh, he has to fill in like Nico or like whoever you want to say on the Packers. Montgomery for me is more proven. I feel better about it, but I get the point that you're coming from with that because I normally don't like using that logic.
My other one last aside is just like Justin Fields led the league in time to throw last year, which I think is part uncomfortable with the offense, you know, not going to your first read. So I think that's just in hand going to lead to more dump off passes and more swing passes to Montgomery, where I think you're going to see a decrease in that. I don't think he's going to continue the upwards trend. I think trying to base it off that is going to be a bait.
Okay. That's fair. We'll see with him.
Khalil Herbert.
Back up.
Yeah, I just think he's still overrated too, though.
Damn,
I think the one thing about Khalil Herbert, I'm not necessarily going out and buying him because his price is kind of annoyingly high. But the fact of the matter is that of all the backups in the league, he's probably top 10, potentially top 5 in terms of fantasy output. I think he's just wildly better than the other backs in Chicago. We've seen him do it when those games that David Montgomery missed. He was that high-end RB2, right? Mid-tier RB2 at least.
Mm-hmm.
So because of that, RB4, like I said, I'm not necessarily purchasing him, but like I don't really want to put him much lower.
Same. I don't know if he's someone out and I'm buying, but like if I had him, I'm valuing him like that. Like I value him pretty decently if I already had him.
He's at that. Yeah, you're right. He's at that price where it's like, okay, if you're gonna give me actual draft capital, like where I can get and upgrade my prospect level, yeah, I'll sell him. But as you can see, he's like right on that late second, early third line. No, who wants to sell Khalil Herbert for a third round pick?
Yeah.
It's just like where's the upside in that? You know, like you said, you'd rather just keep Khalil Herbert around, and if David Montgomery gets hurt or he plays well and eventually can kind of like Tony Pollard his way into success.
I mean, also with David Montgomery, like I don't know what the Bears plan on doing with extensions, but next year's the last year of his rookie deal, and like we see how like these running backs I don't know, are the Bears in a position where you want to give a running back a big contract with how far away you are from competing? Like, I think there are some things that make it interesting. But yeah, no, I'm a Herbert fan also.
What's interesting is didn't the Bengals give Mixon an extension like the season they got Burrow?
Yeah, they gave Mixon an extension.
I just wanted to bring it up.
All right, moving along. Darrington Evans. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't even know he was on the Bears. I completely forgot that he wasn't on the Titans.
The Bears are the key to 2022 fantasy championships in some alternate universe.
I think for the most part, this team is just not going to have many relevant players on them.
No, it's going to be one of the lowest scoring offenses.
That's why I have a lot of overrateds here. I don't know. There's nothing really else I want to touch on Darrington Evans. He's kind of he's there. He's not going to be relevant. DeAndre Swift. I have a feeling I'm going to be alone on this because I have him as my running back too.
I think RB3 is fine. I'm just moving him down a spot before I'm moving him up a spot. That's the only thing. I think.
Who's your RB2, Lounis?
Javonte.
Is Javonte? Even with Melvin Gordon still there?
I don't care about Melvin Gordon.
Even I'm if maybe not sure I want to. I still think that Christian McCaffrey is either one or two in terms of talent and fantasy output. Like, okay, Jonathan Taylor, stud. Okay, it's fine if you invest in him. Same thing with CMC. But in terms of Najee, Javonte, DeAndre Swift, and some of these other super hyped backs, like, and who's after that? Like freaking Eckler. I just don't really want to invest in them at their price. That's the issue. Breece Hall, I can kind of see because I actually really like Breece Hall. But once again, he's behind. Swift. He's what, RB6, RB5?
He's RB5. Yeah.
So like he's in that second tier right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, he's in that tier with like Najee, Swift.
If you had me do a top 5 rankings right now, I would have Taylor 1, Swift 2, Breece Hall 3, Javonte 4, and I think CMC 5.
CMC is around like that 5 spot for me. With I think Swift being 3 or 4. I think Swift is my 3, but I'm moving him down to 4 with Breece Hall before I move him up to 2. But they're all in that same tier for me. Like it's super interchangeable. I just had to pick one or the other.
I to be fair, I don't really like buying most of these running backs at cost, but the only one that I feel like Breece Hall, I feel fine about buying at his cost, but he's cheaper than DeAndre Swift, and then DeAndre Swift, I feel like okay about buying at cost, and to me that's fine. So that's why I probably have him underrated. I think his floor is like a running back 1, like a low end running back 1 with his pass catching ability and everything. So yeah, moving on. Jamal Williams, overrated. I just think he's just a backup. He's kind of irrelevant. Frank
I think the thing with Jamal Williams is that because of his injuries last year, people are underrating how much of a quality backup he could be in the event that DeAndre Swift misses time. So I think that there's a good chance I'd rate him as a top 20 backup in the league. And he's currently not priced like that. He's just really, really cheap for a guy that could be a mid-tier RB2 if DeAndre Swift gets hurt, solely because he was hurt last year. For a large part of last year.
I'd have him somewhere in the later 50s, so a few spots up from 64. 64 is pretty low. It's pretty low.
Yeah, you guys are making me wonder, actually, like, do I really have 63 running backs ahead?
That's what I'm saying. Like,
I think his
like him being 64 would be like if you took like the worst backup in the league if you were like evenly dispersed them.
Well, I just think he's kind of being outshined by some of the other running. Like, say, there's probably a lot of rookies that are going to be ahead of him and guys like that. So Jamal Williams, it's like he's an older player. He didn't do a lot last year because of injury. On keep trade cut, that is not a great recipe for being highly valued.
Yeah, no. Any vet who gets injured, value.
Jamar Jefferson, I think, is trash.
Same. Yeah, we don't need to talk on him.
Craig Reynolds outplayed him.
Yeah, or that I don't even want to pronounce his name. Godwin starts with an I last name.
Yeah.
I don't even want to try.
Yeah, I'm surprised Jamar Jefferson's still on here, to be fair. I think it's all from the 2021 draft type, which I kind of bought it too. Like, not that high, but...
I'll tell you what, A.J. Dillon is a super interesting one because I know we're all going to say overrated, probably because of the risk, but I don't necessarily think that means he's a bad player.
No,
I really don't hate A.J. Dillon.
I just don't know how you look at this and see Aaron Jones 2 spots beneath him. And like, Aaron Jones is the starter. He's going to be the starter. I think he's going to get you significantly more points if we're being honest. And
especially if you're in a half PPR or PPR league.
And I get the point of longevity and age and running backs and everything. But like, how do I know the Packers aren't going to just bring in someone else when Aaron Jones is gone, and that eats into A.J. Dillon's targets? Like, we're saying A.J. Dillon's that much better than David Montgomery, who is like the clear-cut starter.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, see, that's just, I like A.J. Dillon. He's just rated too high for me to want to invest in him at. I am not touching him for this price.
Yeah, and
I think he's a good player.
That made this next one in Aaron Jones pretty easy, because if we're having A.J. Dillon as running back 18, Aaron Jones at running back 20, easy underrated.
You'd think there's like a 6 to 8 year age difference between Dillon.
Yeah, there's 3.
I mean, the thing that's interesting about Aaron Jones is that there is a chance that he could lead the Packers in target share.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be shocked.
This is Tony Pollard versus Zeke, but like at a way clearer cut level of like, I didn't see any downturn in Aaron Jones' play. I mean, you can make the case that Zeke was playing hurt, but like Aaron Jones was fine. Aaron Jones was very good last year.
He's still in his prime physically from what it's looked like.
Yeah, I don't get how we're gonna say, and it's not like A.J. Dillon wasn't super explosive in the likes that like Tony Pollard was, where you've seen him. Like, A.J. Dillon was a fine player when he got in, but he was fine.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah, I just think that no matter which way the cookie crumbles, Aaron Jones is going to be a good player, because even if the Packers come out like a lot of people are expecting and they're a run-heavy team, well, then he's going to get a decent amount of carries. Well, if they're a pass-heavy team, okay, well, he's still going to get his nice receiving workload. So, like, no matter which way you slice up how this offense operates, how they run, Aaron Jones is one of the main beneficiaries no matter what. With A.J. Dillon, you really want them to be a run-heavy offense, or to just take Aaron Jones's role, which I don't think a lot of us, especially after they gave Aaron Jones that extension, how well he's been playing, think is going to happen. Yet it's priced that way.
Yeah. Aaron Jones is probably the guy Aaron Rodgers trusts most on that offense now.
Kylan Hill is RB2 next year in Green Bay. I don't know. I just don't think Kylan Hill is talented enough. I think he's a good player. I think he's a hard worker. He was fun to watch at Mississippi State. And it was really cool to see a guy like that transition from like a downhill runner into a completely pass-only offense and have some decent success. I just think he's outclassed in the NFL and especially in Green Bay. Maybe he can develop with some time. This year, I just don't see it without injuries. And even then, I'm not sure he's going to be relevant.
Yeah. So you made my overrated argument pretty easy for me.
I mean, that's the thing with backup running backs, is that with one injury, I want to see you be relevant. I don't want it to be like, okay, if the entire depth chart gets hit by a meteor, then you're relevant.
Yeah.
Unless I really believe in your talent.
Yeah. In the case of Jamar Jefferson, that happened and he still wasn't relevant. And he's still somehow on keep your cut. Like,
not everyone can be Boston Scott.
Dalvin Cook, RB10, rated 5,000. This is one of those ones similar to Aaron Rodgers where it's like, now maybe less so, because I do think this is a hefty price to pay for Dalvin, but he's a good player. If he's on your team, he's probably going to be pretty darn good. The injuries are kind of annoying here and there with Dalvin, but when he's playing, he's a top back in the league. but you know he's going to be significantly lower in price. He's going to get Derrick Henry next year hard. He could be out there RB1, and he'll still end up RB14, RB15 next season in value.
Yeah, I think there are times when Dalvin Cook gets underrated because it's like he's still only 26 years old. But I agree with you. Like if he has another short injury this year, like it's going to be the same things with like just where you see Derrick Henry, like all their value just drops. And then like you look at some of the running backs behind him, like sure, like Dalvin Cook versus Eckler or ETN, I think you could make the argument for Cook pretty easily. But then after him, you have guys like, how do we think J.K. Dobbins' value versus Dalvin Cook is going to be at the end of next season, or Saquon Barkley?
I could very easily give you 5 other players in addition to, I gave you my 1 through 5, and then after CMC, I'd probably say some combination of Saquon, Eckler, Kamara. I still think I'd rather have Derrick Henry, Nick Chubb, Joe Mixon, and that's not even talking about the younger guys. Like, I guess J.K. Dobbins is still such a weird one.
I'm still
I didn't say Najee.
Cam Akers
I would
as
have
well.
Najee in there. So
listen, I think it's worth
running back 10.
If you need a running back and you're trying to get a good running back at cost, I actually do think that Dalvin Cook could be a good running back at cost. But don't be the guy who's like, oh, well, Dalvin Cook is going to be a top 10 running back. He needs to be valued like a top 10 running back. Like, don't be that guy. Just be smarter about it, you know?
Yeah. And I mean,
you're investing in a guy that's going to depreciate. So if you're going to trade for him, you can make a good trade for him, but you just have to know that 100% going in to not overpay.
Yeah.
Dalvin Cook is like a used Acura. No, actually a used Honda. As soon as you drive him off the lot, he's going to depreciate value.
Starts to just go down.
Yeah.
Oh, I clicked the wrong button.
See it, Frank.
Oh man. Okay, Alexander Madison.
He's just consistently overrated, I think, at this point for me.
I used to be an Alexander Madison fan, but the RB37 is a little bit high for me. I'd probably have him like late 40s. Because I think for him, like a comparable is like I might prefer Khalil Herbert a little bit more to. I think I prefer Herbert a little bit more to him. Guys like that. I think he's like a nice handcuff, but that's about it.
He is. But
I think he's
this
a nice
price
handcuff.
tag, the fact that he is worth more than a late second, he's at like a mid-second price ish.
Yeah, no.
Give me the mid-second. I just don't see the upside in Madison.
They just took Ty Chandler. I think Ty Chandler is going to end up being the handcuff eventually because I think Madison, this is the last year on his deal, and they're not going to re-sign him. So that's why I'm actually putting underrated for Ty Chandler.
I think Ty Chandler's are right.
Again, RB87.
Yeah, I know, but
under 1,000 value.
Dude, I like Keen and Wongwu. I think Keenan Wongwu's good. He showed up at the end of last year. He's a good kick returner. He needs to develop 100%, but I think that dude's got some fucking juice. And he's the cheapest one.
None of these guys really. I don't feel good about having either of those two guys on my roster, really.
I think when push comes to shove,
this is Dalvin Cook.
This is a Dalvin Cook backfield.
Well, yeah. Moving on to tight ends. Cole Kmet. This one was kind of hard for me, to be honest.
I just have a fat U.
Fat U? I put a U.
I just think part of it is like, dude, you start looking at the tight ends under him and around him. It's like, well, fuck, who else am I going to buy? You know, like I just think for the cost, he's one of the better tight ends to invest in.
Yeah, I'll put like a lowercase U. Like it's
it's out here.
Like yeah, I think at that price he's fine. He still has to show up, but he's super young, 23 years old. I'm fine with going with you guys.
Yeah, listen, I don't think he's going to be a world beater, but I think that there's a good argument he should be a top 10 dynasty tight end right now, and he's not. Like a lower tier top 10.
Let me see this top 10 again. I'd take him over Dawson Knox, sure. But here's the thing, though. I would prefer Gesicki and Noah Fant and Trey McBride all over him, but then so maybe he is overrated.
Yeah, he's at that weird spot for me. My issue is the Bears brought in anyone, literally anyone. I don't think we're talking about Cole Kmet.
Actually, I'm going to switch to overrated.
I'm joining you, to be honest.
Because I look at some of the guys after him, like, would you rather have Trey McBride or Cole Kmet?
I think Trey McBride. Like,
would you rather have Noah Fant or Cole Kmet? Both those guys are behind him.
I'd probably have Fant.
Both those guys are behind him. And the only guy
I think both of those guys are underrated.
Yeah, but then who else are you taking out of that top 10? The only person
I'm taking
Dawson Knox, yes.
Dawson Knox, easy. I'd rather
Dawson Knox, I agree. But then that's the thing. If you look at the rankings, okay, I removed Dawson Knox, that bumps Kmet up.
When Kelsey retires next year, he's going to be out of there.
Kelsey's not retiring next year. Actually, I don't know. Some football players are starting to retire younger, so maybe. I mean, it's kind of unpredictable. Yeah, I'm just gonna have O.
I guess at the end of the day, I'm saying he's fairly rated. This one was another hard one because I think I'm gonna have to go overrated on TJ.
Go on overrated.
Yeah, TJ Hawkinson. I figured that overrated would be a popular one on TJ Hawkinson. I just think similar to Mark Andrews, this is going to be a really big year for TJ Hawkinson. He's shown flashes. Yes, I understand he doesn't have the 100-yard games and he hasn't had a ton of success, but dude, he is still a damn young player. And
I think he's very good. I consider him an extremely valuable dynasty piece. I'd probably have him tight end 6 or 7. So I think tight end 5 is fine. I just lean going down 1 or 2 spots rather than moving him up.
But I think that value in terms of points is like really nice to invest in TJ. I don't think you're going to be able to get that in a lot of leagues, unfortunately.
I know, but he's pretty close. 4,500. So what? He's 200 away from Kittle and Kelsey. He's 400.
Yeah, but look, he's a smidge above AJ Dillon.
Okay, that's just AJ Dillon being ridiculously overrated. But he's 400 ahead of Darren Waller. He's 1,200 ahead of guy like Dallas Goedert. I'd have him like tight end 6 or 7. I just lean overrated.
Yeah, I think he's gonna have a big year.
He's got a lot of people who compete with targets now, though.
Yeah, and that's also another thing. I think Jameson's going to be going forward for the next few years, leading them in receiving yards.
DJ Chark, DeAndre Swift.
Forgot DJ Chark's there too.
You got
Swift,
a lot of mouths to feed on that.
Versus Mark Andrews was the number 1 in Baltimore. A lot of these other tight ends are the number 1.
Yeah, but in the beginning of the season, you're probably saying, oh, well, you got J.K. Dobbins, you got Rashad Bateman, you got Hollywood Brown.
Well, 2 of those were injured.
I mean, sure, but if you look at the rest of the top tight ends, they're all relatively the number 1.
And you have what's his name, Tylan Wallace, right?
That was Jake saying you have Tylan Wallace.
Yeah, that was not us.
We have the one person in the world pointing to Tylan Wallace as a legitimate threat on our pod. I think he's in a place where he's very highly rated for someone that's like a smidge out of the wasteland in terms of tight end.
I think he's a little bit more than a smidge, but I'm with you, JT. Robert Tonyan, tight end 25.
Just don't think there's a lot of.
I think
there's a lot more upside than downside, and the fact of the matter is that this price is a mid-third. Yeah. So this guy could. I'm not saying he will, but he easily could be a mid-tier tight end 1 on an offense that is looking for anyone to throw the ball to at this point. Has had some success before, not a ton, but he's had some success. Rodgers has raved about him. I just think at this price, tight end 25, he's underrated. I think in most leagues, he's probably worth more than the tight end 25 price tag on Keep Trade Cut.
That's the thing. Like a tight end 25 price here, it's for me, it's super easy, underrated. I do wonder what his actual value is from someone who has him, because I mean, if I have him, I'm not giving him up for any third, like 301.
Yeah, I think this is just one of those areas where, once again, it's the veteran that is coming off an injury that isn't super flashy, right? That seems to be a common theme on Keep Trade Cut for a guy just being wildly undervalued. And you can see, right? We all put him as undervalued, right? So it's like, I think a lot of the rest of the Dynasty community would throw a fat U on this price tag as well.
I think realistically, if you wanted to get him, you'd probably have to throw like a late second to whoever has them.
Well, also, we play in tight end premium leagues, so that may be part of the equation here.
Yeah, but I don't think you're getting him with any third rounder.
But dude, you're saying that like he's out of the top 24. Are there really 24 tight ends you'd rather have over Tanyan?
No,
I'm not even sure there's 20 or 18 when I look.
Yeah, like we're literally talking about the freaking hay bales rolling around in the damn wasteland. All right,
I think you're looking for a tumbleweed.
Or the tumbleweed. Yeah, there we go.
Especially when you look at how much someone like Alberto has gotten overrated versus like Tanyan.
Yeah.
Or freaking Irv Smith.
Alberto at his peak is the third target on this Broncos offense, but I think he's more so like the fourth or fifth.
Yeah,
on this offense.
Tanyan, like the only concern with Tanyan, like we got to see how he's coming back from injury. But if he's healthy, if he's playing, I don't know, if you told me 14 plus games this year, I would say he finishes a tight end one.
Joe Herbert, I have Tanyan. I want 2 first. See, exactly. Underrated.
Yeah.
Moving us along, Irv Smith. I have a feeling I know exactly how this one is going to go. I think there's going to be all
three of us overrated with Jake underrated.
One person. Yeah.
Who saw this coming? This is the same thing as last year.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Yeah. Easy. That was an easy call.
That's great.
No shot.
Great.
I mean, it makes sense. These players are on Jake's teams, but like the players like Dalvin Cook and Irv Smith, Jake is the odd man out with the underrated. So, and I guess you got to be the biggest believer in them now.
I went overrated on a lot of the Vikings.
I just went a lot of. I have a lot of overrated for the NFC North and NFC North in general. Yeah, there's no reason he should be this high, tight end 15. Irv Smith.
I agree. I just think that a lot of people see the age and they see his college production. He was at Bama, right?
Yep.
I'm not getting that wrong.
Yeah, no, he was at
So yeah, there's going to be a lot of people that still believe in him. I understand. This is one of those guys where it's like, yes, he has upside. I understand he has upside. Stop it with the upside, because show me something first. Like, I just don't want to invest, and he's creeping back up into this price tag where I just don't think he's worth it. What has he shown? And an offense where it's like, is he even going to be relevant?
I have the Hunter Henry litmus test. Do I think you're better than Hunter Henry? Yes or no? Are you valued above Hunter Henry? Yes or no? I don't think Irv Smith is better than Hunter Henry, yet he's valued above Hunter Henry. Therefore,
that's a good litmus test for tight ends. Also, Hunter Henry, fantastic in college. Where the hell did he went to a weird one, right? It was like a white and red team.
You're making me think Nebraska right off the bat. Hunter Henry.
There you go. Was it Washington State? I can't remember. Let me see. I gotta look it up. Hunter Henry.
Arkansas.
Okay, so it was red. Yeah, I was close. You know, Washington State, Arkansas. They're like right next to each other.
He's from Little Rock, Arkansas. Dave Portnoy of Barstool Sports saw Hunter Henry out and just described him as like a tall accountant. Like he's like, you wouldn't even know he played football if you saw him out.
See, he was a beast. If you look at Hunter Henry's production in college, he was insane. All right, Darnell Mooney. Going on to the receivers.
I think I know how this is going to go. I feel like I'm going to be odd man out here.
I'm so back and forth.
I'm sticking to my priors.
Because
I'm sticking to my priors.
Because points wise, he's valued at like a mid 24 first, and I think I'd rather have the mid 24 first.
And he's overrated.
And I think, I know it's just hard.
First underrated.
Because who's he behind? He's right behind Sutton. I'll take Mooney over Sutton, but I'm not putting him over like Elijah Moore, Devontae Smith, Olave. He's right above Mike Williams and
he's by like Amari Cooper.
This is hard.
Yeah, I mean, him being above Sky Moore just is the.
That is pretty hard. That is pretty hard.
Like, I think if Sky Moore hits, you have the top receiver on the Chiefs offense. If Darnell Mooney hits, you have the top receiver.
Okay,
on
I'm gonna go slightly overrated, even though I think he's valued like honestly pretty perfectly. I think he's right beneath kind of like that Elijah Moore, and I'd have Sky Moore ahead of him. But ahead of guys like I have him ahead of Sutton. I'd rather have him than Amari Cooper. I just think, I mean, a big part of it is I think the Bears are going to eventually bring in a real number one for Justin Fields, whether it happens during this season or next off season. I think within the next year, the Bears are going to bring in a true number one.
They better.
Yeah, I think Darnell Mooney is going to have a very similar upwards cannon shot that Deontay Johnson had. I think the dude's in line for a ton of targets.
You mentioned that. I don't put him. I just don't think he's a talent.
I just think he's a threat in all three phases of the receiving game. He has fantastic hands. He plays a lot bigger than he's listed. So I think that there's a lot of things I like about Darnell Mooney. I agree it's hard to put him higher than wide receiver 30, right? I agree with that.
Yeah.
Is he slightly overpriced for what you ideally would want him at? Maybe. But fact of the matter is, I think when the season comes around and the games start being played, when this dude is on the field, he is going to be top 24 in receiving points per game. That's just how I'm putting it.
I wouldn't even be shocked if that happened this year. I'm just looking at it more so from like a dynasty lens. I think they're going to bring in a better receiver to be the number one, and then he's going to be kind of more long-term number two. And I think he's good. I think he's valuable. I'd rather have him than a very late first in this draft, like between like 109 to 112 for this year's draft. I'd rather have Mooney. But anything more than that, and I can't put him ahead of like a mid-2024. But I think wide receiver 30 is a fair ranking. If we were still doing C's, I'd put C.
I think Darnell Mooney for a first is a really interesting conversation. I might lean the first as well. Probably depends on my team outlook and landscape. I think more times than not, I would sell for the first. But I think that Darnell Mooney is just a good player. Yes, he's an outlier. I understand. He doesn't have the great draft capital. His tape was a lot better than his production in college. But he is exactly that. He is an outlier. He's proven to be an outlier. So I just think he's going to explode this year.
Okay.
You're not going to get me. I don't know. We've had this Darnell Mooney debate.
Yeah.
I think he's a fringe wide receiver too. We might see 2 years of fringe wide receiver 2 years from him. I think that's kind of where I'd have his peak at.
My guy for the next one.
Underrated.
I think it's hard to put Velus Jones as overrated, but I'm doing it.
He's wide receiver 90.
Yeah. I agree. Like, you would say, hey, he's the second wide receiver on this team.
Even if you guys don't like him.
Second wide receiver on this team. Like, wide receiver 90, there's 64, what, 2 times 32 is 64. You're going to have him at 90? Yeah, I am.
Yeah,
I'm still
agree. Because you want to know why?
90.
Guess who was the wide receiver 2 in the Bears last year? Allen Robinson. He stunk.
He
stunk with a capital S.
Who are the wide receivers around him at 90?
Pull him up.
Yeah, but the thing is that who cares about the wide receiver 90? This guy's priced a third. I don't want to pay a third for Velus Jones.
So what? It's like a mid-third this year?
It's like a late third.
I'm okay with a late third value for Velus Jones. I'll leave it at that.
He's valued around Tanyan. Or Tunyon.
Well, I'd rather have Tanyan, but because I was thinking, like, I know like Quez Watkins was in 100. I think Quez Watkins is a better receiver. If he's ahead of Thornton, I'd rather have Thornton. But I don't think he is.
I mean, I just don't want any of these Bears other receivers. I'm not saying that none of these guys won't be relevant. I'm not going to go out here and spend my time trying to think about who the hell is going to be the guy here, if at all. And then with Velus Jones, if I can sell him for a third, I don't think there's a single team in my dynasty leagues that I'd rather have Velus Jones at a third, even though I understand he has some upside. So, yeah, this might be I'm selling James Robinson for a third all over again, but fuck it, give me the third.
I'm cool with late third value. I'm very cool with that.
There's a very big difference between running back who got thrusted into a starting role and a 26-year-old rookie receiver.
This one right here, Jameson Williams, I think might be the toughest over-under of the season.
These two I found very difficult.
Underrated.
These next two.
Because
I said overrated.
You talk about the ultimate battle between upside, risk, situation. Jameson Williams, I honestly think, has the highest upside of any receiver in this draft.
Yep.
If this dude hits, he could be a goddamn Hall of Famer.
He had the best film.
This dude's speed is absurd. And if you look at the list of some of the fastest receivers, I'm not talking about 40 times. I forget who posted. I think it was Fusu. He posted, I think it was PFF data that has the game speed tracking data. I mean, he's on a list with there's some big old busts, but there's some dudes on there, right? I think if he hits with the draft capital, with the production he had at his last year at Alabama, with the film and all this shit, this guy could be an absolute star.
I do want to, heading into around the bowl game, every single draft reporter, NFL reporter was all saying he could possibly be the first wide receiver taken and that he'd likely be a top 10 pick before the injury happened. I think he's going to recover fine from a torn ACL. It sucks that he might miss some of his rookie season. He won't be the most productive rookie because, again, he's going to miss the beginning half of it. This is more so for going forward for his career. I think he's the highest ceiling of any receiver in the draft. I had him as my wide receiver 1B with him and Garrett Wilson.
I agree. I'm still going to put overrated.
It's okay. I'll stay on the island.
I don't actually hate Jameson Williams. I think his price in rookie drafts is way better than this price tag. Because fact of the matter is, I've seen him at 106 and plenty
you can get him at 105 to 107 range.
And I don't think 106 is worth whatever the hell this price tag and keep trade cut is. I think that you're not getting that.
Mm-hmm.
My thing about Jameson Williams, and then we can move to another one, is I think the issue is he's coming into the season with the ACL injury, and I just think he's already going to be starting off on the wrong. He's going to be behind everyone, and it's going to be a difficult task to increase your value.
I feel like it's always a bigger deal in the moment than it ends up being. I remember Odell coming into the league.
But he's not. I thought about Odell, and I was like, oh, but Odell did. He's not an Odell level prospect. He's not Odell. That's the thing. He's
out of college. I don't think he's drastically apart.
He's not Odell.
I mean, with hindsight now, knowing what Odell was when he came out, but I think Jameson, had he not gotten the injury,
he's not Odell.
Did Odell ever top that last year at
that Alabama Jameson just had?
Jameson Williams had.
Regardless, it took. I'm gonna have to pull up Odell's stats now.
I'd be surprised if he had a better season at any year than Jameson had last year. Jameson's season last year was insane.
Odell had, in his junior season, he had 1,100 yards, 8 touchdowns. Jameson Williams.
Jameson had 15.
Jameson had 1,500.
To be fair, though, we're also talking about you have Bryce Young throwing to.
Yeah, Zach Mettenberger.
Yeah. Thank you, Liz.
Jameson Williams also had 2 more games. Than a field stretcher. Yeah, the one thing I don't like about Jameson Williams, I expected him to be a lot better with the ball in his hands.
I think he's very good with the ball in his hands.
So
I think he just relies on his speed, which isn't a bad thing. The guy's blazing fast, but I just expected more on tape.
Tyreek Hill kind of does that.
Looking into
Tyreek Hill is quick as shit too, and the guy was a running back in college. Like you see that when he's got the ball in his hands.
Jameson Williams looking into more, couldn't break onto the field in Ohio State. I mean, kind of fair because of what the team was, but
neither could Joe Burrow.
True. But didn't have really any production until his junior year. OBJ, just 3 straight years of increased production, but like his freshman year was better than Jameson Williams' freshman and sophomore year combined. OBJ is just a significantly better prospect than Jameson Williams.
See, the one thing that's interesting, I have absolutely zero data to back this up, other than like a couple random players. But to me, if you transfer and immediately have good production, I can kind of forgive not having success at a different spot a little bit.
Also,
it does depend on the player here and there.
Ohio State had 3 first-round receivers. It's not like he was behind like some scrubs.
Yeah, but you're saying he's in the same realm as OBJ in terms of prospect, and that's just
just as a college prospect. Obviously, OBJ came out and was amazing, but he was. But
that's the thing. He's not. He's not in the same realm as OBJ. That's what I'm trying to say. Like if he was, he would be up there with those other first round prospects. He would be on the field with the first round players at Ohio State, a la OBJ with Jarvis Landry, and he's not.
But no, I don't think Jarvis Landry or anyone else on the LSU team was better than Olave, Smith-Njigba, or Garrett Wilson.
Jarvis Landry is about to outproduce Olave on the Saints this season.
What round did Jarvis Landry get? Second round.
46.
Yeah, all those Ohio State receivers are going easy.
You know that off the top of your head. Like, am I going to pull up Jarvis Landry right now? And he's going to be.
But I was going to say,
I think it was 46.
Jarvis Landry wasn't
63.
Jarvis Landry wasn't a first-round talent. This is a guy who went 63 versus Ohio State.
The thing about Jarvis Landry too, though, that you're not remembering is that Jarvis Landry would have been a first-round talent if his combine wasn't the similar to like my grandma's. I think that was more the issue than the tape and his production.
Yeah, but I mean,
this guy's relative athletic score I could probably find in the dumpster at Walmart. All right, this is awful. He put up like a 0.5. This guy is literally. Bad. If JT did the combine.
I still wouldn't get that score, but
he wouldn't get that score. But he'd be closer to Jarvis Landry than Jarvis Landry is to the average top 24 receiver.
That's fair. We can move. The rest of you said overrated for Jameson.
JMO looked good at OSU, but Fields seldom targeted him. Dude, I love you, Joe Herbert. Yeah, that's great.
There you go.
That's good stuff.
All right. Well,
Joe Herbert, do you think? Wait, real quick. Joe Herbert, Jameson Williams, overrated, underrated?
I think he said a little earlier in the chat, overrated. Oh, no. Amon-Ra, he said overrated.
Well, no, because he gave me J-Mo's to prove to me he's more than a field stretcher, but then hyped him up a little bit, saying that Fields seldom targeted him. So I'm curious. A little like yin and yang there.
Amon-Ra was actually kind of difficult for me. Because, he was very good, but he really didn't have much competition. So now you're bringing
I've said this point on the pod before. I think the problem with Amon-Ra isn't that he's not a good player. I think that the community thinks his upside and his ceiling is a lot higher than it is. I think fact of the matter is what he did last year is what he's gonna do. He has his role. He's a slot guy. He plays hard. He's great in that role.
And I'm not.
But how does he improve? Does he become one of the premier slot receivers in the league?
Yeah, I was gonna say also with how they felt, they did bring in DJ Chark and moved up in the draft to take Jameson Williams, and then you also have DeAndre Swift there. You have TJ Hawkinson there. It's a lot.
You want to know what they're gonna do? they're gonna try and be like the dude. Like they're gonna try and be the Broncos next year. They're gonna be like, okay, we can get the QB, and then we can just spend the rest of our stuff on.
I mean, it's a pretty nice setup. You'd have what? J-Mo, Amon-Ra, Chark with Swift and Hawkinson. That's good weapons.
It's a good team. I'll say I was very much out on Amon-Ra when he was like wide receiver 19. I don't know.
Oh, that was crazy.
4 or 5 months ago.
Yeah, that was
wide
crazy.
receiver, was he right now? What we saying? Wide receiver 38? Oh, no, sorry.
33.
33. Yeah,
it's much more
a fair
tolerable.
price.
I mean, sure, but he's still ahead of guys like Jahan Dotson, Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah, I'll take Ayuk over. I'm not sure if I'd take Dotson over. I don't think I'd
probably take Dotson and Christian Watson. Take both those guys
over until
I like Amon-Ra long term. Oh, sorry. Read that again.
Joe Herbert, J-Mo overrated until he sees him produce at all 3 levels. I think that's fair.
Yeah, but once you see him produce, he'll be in that top 12.
Yeah, that is the thing. You're running he does have good. He can move either way.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, no, with his capital, if he does produce well, that wide receiver 19 price is long gone.
Yeah, I think he's overrated in terms of keep trade cut value and wide receiver price. This is back on a Jameson Williams, but if he's there at 106, I'm going to snag him.
Yeah,
I take him over Kenneth Walker at 105 if I had to.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I might do the thing we were talking about where it's like I take Kenneth Walker and then trade him before the season because his value is higher. But
if he's there at 106 in our rookie draft, I might have to I don't even know who I trade, but I might have to just try to figure out something.
All right, so real quick, we're about to all go to Florida to our buddy's house for an in-person Dynasty draft. So
if he's there at 106, I'm gonna make a bad drunk decision trading up.
Dude, you could just tackle him into the pool, break the phone. It's like, no, postpone the draft.
I'm gonna be drunk and be like, you know what, McCaffrey, I don't know.
I think I did our league's mock draft
and Jameson was available at 106.
I think he was 106 is where he went.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But that's the case, dude, every year a week before the draft, you think everything's set in stone, and then some crazy shit happens.
I don't know. Last year, our mocks were pretty accurate for the first 2 rounds. There was 1 or 2 things we got wrong between the first 20 picks.
I don't know. In our league and most leagues, Frank saying Kenneth Walker, I think he's probably the clear one that go who
in our league. Kenneth Walker is going top 5.
I saw in our draft Jameson Williams went 103, right?
Yeah, who is Jameson Williams fall behind that pushes him down past? I think 106 is fair.
106 is the lowest he should drop. He shouldn't drop any further than 106.
But I don't think he jumps most of I think maybe now he jumps Treylon Burks because of all the bad reports, but I think that's a bad process.
No, I don't think in most drafts he's doing that.
I don't think. I've always just had Jameson ahead of Burks, but I don't think. I'm going off Burks, of
last month's rookie drafts because I did 7 rookie drafts last month, and the past 2 months, a month ago. That makes no sense. But you pick up what I'm putting down. And he was in every single draft except for our draft where he went 103. I'm pretty sure he was available at 105.
I got news for you guys.
Yeah.
Jameson Williams, what do we say? He's wide receiver 18. That's what he's on. Keep trade.
Wide receiver 19. Yeah, he's above Treylon on
Treylon's 24 on keep trade cut.
I think that's more so Treylon being underrated. I think he's underrated, but
I have number 6 in my league, and Jamo's my 6th rated player. I think Jamo's my 5th.
I think if you get Jameson, Jameson might be my 3rd or 4th. He might be as high as 3.
Honestly, I think he's my 8th.
He might be 3rd for me.
Do you have him over or under Kenneth Walker, JT?
And Garrett Wilson.
I have Kenneth Walker over Jameson Williams.
Interesting. All right, back to Amon-Ra. Any other takes on Amon-Ra?
Not really.
I think he's fine where he is now. I'm not going out and buying him at the price, but before I would have said he's a hard sell. Now I think you can hold on to him. Now I think he's a fine hold.
Yeah, I just think right now you're not getting the first. So what's the point in selling?
Yeah.
I mean, do you ever entertain trying to go Amon-Ra and like a second or a third for a first? Is that ever a move if you have Amon-Ra, or is that not worth it?
For 2023 first, yeah. I'd do that.
Okay, interesting. DJ Chark. Wide
I
receiver
love me some
66.
DJ Chark, but what's his path to targets here? How are we?
I'm gonna. The fact that JT's saying overrated when I thought he was gonna say overrated makes me want to switch it.
Yeah. Well, I said over when you thought I was gonna say under.
I thought you were gonna have a fat U. I thought you were gonna be like DJ Chark is the biggest value since like freaking Nom.
The Jags
Nom was a huge value.
I mean, like, look at as much as we want to clown the Jags all the time. Look at like they made like zero attempt to try to re-sign him, and they threw Christian Kirk a bag.
Well, Christian Kirk's always criminally underrated.
Yeah, but that's kind of telling about how they felt about DJ Chark.
Yeah, I just like similar.
I know, so overrated.
Welcome. Who was I talking about earlier? It was an Irv Smith, TJ Hawkinson. I forget who I was talking about earlier, but like at the end of the day, he has to compete with a lot of different players with targets. I mean, the only year that we really saw him relevant was when there was very little competition for targets on the Jaguars.
And I just think there are four.
It was TJ Hawkinson you were talking about.
I think there are four more talented receivers ahead of him. Not necessarily only.
No, it was Albert O. It was randomly.
Oh yeah, Albert O too.
I think he's kind of in that Albert O zone. Sorry,
I think obviously Jameson's more talented. I think Amon-Ra's more talented. Hawkinson's more talented. I think Swift is more talented.
Yeah, so I think that's the issue we fall into with.
Honestly, it's not only that, it's just he is at a very, very early third, very late second price. I just would have expected him to be a little bit lower than that. I thought he would have been in that mid-third round. Because that's a Jarvis Landry price, right?
No, scroll down. It's right near Adam Thielen.
He's above Kenny Golladay as well, right? I just think that there are better players. Not that he's terribly overrated. Like, I think it's kind of fair, but fuck, I think that there's just so many players behind him that I'm like, dude, wait, he's behind DJ Chark? What? That's weird. The problem I have.
Yeah, I just think that's always a great move, trading those kind of players, those fringe young players that still have somewhat of hype around them for just proven veterans like an Adam Thielen, like a Jarvis Landry. Like that's always a good winning move.
Dude, you want to know what's crazy? This Lions receiving core is really good because I like these guys like Quintez Cephas, Josh Reynolds, and Cleve Raymond. I think they're all good players. But the problem is that I don't want to roster any of these guys. I don't think that they're going to get enough targets to be relevant. I don't think that they're going to have the offense enough to be relevant. But this is a good freaking Detroit Lions offense. And none of these players are over 28. They're all 27 or under.
Yeah.
They're dynasty players. The thing about Josh Reynolds that has me saying underrated, just 122 for a player that actually has like rapport with Jared Goff from the Rams coming over.
I don't care about that rapport.
I think he's fine.
No, I agree with you, JT. I think that there's a good chance that one of these three, in Quintez Cephas, Reynolds, or Raymond, has some potential flex relevance, but it's probably going to have to take an injury, which is most likely going to happen to one of these dudes above him. But
you already have Jameson Williams.
I was going to say you already have one injury, and it would probably still take another.
Yeah, but I think it's more so I don't want to spend any assets and potentially even roster spots holding on to the hope that it could happen, even though I like the talent of these guys.
Yeah. I can feel that, but when I see Josh Reynolds is lower than Sammy Watkins by a sizable margin, that's where you got me.
He's in free agency in a ton of leagues, Josh Reynolds.
Yeah, he's someone that I think at some point this season will give you 3 straight weeks of solid flex play. So keep that information. I don't know, Guru JT, Oracle JT. He's going to give you about 3 weeks of solid flex play, and at the price that he's at, which is basically free, I'll say he's underrated. Christian Watson, I have my bet with Lounis. This one was pretty easy.
Overrated. Slightly overrated. I mean, I still stand by that bet. I wouldn't have David Bell as wide receiver 38 either.
I wish Jake was here to say why he's underrated. I'm going.
Oh wow!
He's the only target on the Packers. Aaron Rodgers.
I'm normally the Christian Watson guy. No, I just mean like if you look at the value, he's right around a 2024 late first. I'd rather have that. He's right around Jahan Dotson. I think those two are pretty equal. Slightly ahead of a 2023 early second. I'd rather have the 23 early second. So ahead of guys like, I mean, I still like Miles Sanders, Claypool, Tony, Gallup. I do like Christian Watson. And I think for this draft in particular, 2022, especially where now we're seeing like James Cook being a near consensus 112 pick. Yeah, I would take Christian Watson in one of the last couple picks of the first round of this draft, somewhere in that 109 to 112 range. But just overall, it's a little bit high. I think it's generally okay. I just would move down more than up.
Peter R. So Peter R is in chat talking about Kenneth Walker and Jameson Williams, but I'm interested now because he says the guy at number 5 this year was at number 5 last year and took Lawrence, one quarterback, allowing me to get Chase at number 6.
Oh, how was Chase? How was Chase available
in a one quarterback league? How is Jamar Chase falling to number 6?
Joe Herbert.
Lawrence went 5.
Yeah, Joe Herbert. Lawrence was like the number 1 pick for most drafts last year, but PDR is talking about 1 QB where it was different. But that makes 0 sense why Chase was there at 6.
So I'm going to assume Etienne,
I thought Najee, Chase, and Pitts. Najee, Chase,
where
Pitts,
those were the
Devontae
consensus.
Smith were like the top 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I must have gone 3 running backs.
Was there. Yeah, there's 6 players.
I must have gone 3 running backs. Yeah, 3 running backs, Pitts,
Devontae Smith.
Chase.
Oh, yeah, Lawrence. Yeah, Lawrence.
That's crazy.
Dude, I fade QBs kind of heavy in one quarterback.
Yeah, one quarterback. I'm not taking Lawrence that high ever.
Because this is a super flex podcast. This is the last time we're going to talk about one quarterback for the rest of this season, at least. But I have to say, you can compete in one QB right now with Tannehill and freaking Jameis Winston. Yeah. There's no need to spend high quality assets on getting a quarterback.
Yeah, no, especially like here's the question then. In one QB, where were guys like Fields, Wilson, Lance going?
Second round, a lot of those guys.
That's what I'm. Yeah, like that's crazy that he won 105 in one QB. But that happens sometimes. Like people first playing Dynasty like will overrate quarterbacks.
Draft went Harris, Pitts, Etienne, Williams, Lawrence, Chase.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So yeah, running backs heavy.
I think roster makeup could also, like if it's a 2 wide receiver and then 1 flex or 2 flex.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into some of these other guys.
Yeah. Alan Lazard, another one easy for me. Overrated. Dude's just not good at football.
You Hayden. So underrated.
He's I'm alone here, which is crazy to me. Alan Lazard, he's got his defenders, but Alan Lazard is just not going to be relevant.
I'm going to get this one right. Alan Lazard went to Arizona State, right?
Not sure.
Iowa State. Okay, same colors, wrong team. Alan Lazard, I love coming out of school, even though I got the school wrong. I think he like wide receiver 58 is a fair price.
Yeah,
he gave you similar production to Marquez Valdes-Scantling last year.
I just hate. I mean, he's worth a second. I don't want to pay a second for him though.
In how many games, JT? Because he missed some time.
I mean, he played 15 games last year.
15 games, 500 yards, 8 touchdowns. I think he can give you something maybe like a 750, 8 touchdown season where it's like solid. maybe 800 yards.
He's not good. I'd rather take that 2,600 points and just put it literally anywhere else.
I'm going to do an exercise with you one day, JT.
Okay.
I want you to guess how many
20%.
passing yards Aaron Rodgers finishes the season with, then distribute them across the receivers and running backs.
I might give Aaron Jones like 3,000.
I was gonna say, because I was like, if you think both Lazard and Christian Watson aren't gonna really do much this season,
Yeah, but you're falling into the bait. It's just like
no, I mean, like
the
my
vacated
own
targets are just-
evaluations aside, at the end of the day, those yards like just going fugazi.
Well,
Oh,
Tanya
Sammy
could be a
Watkins.
touchdown hog and get like 8 to 10. Aaron Jones could get a bunch, and I mean, dude, like
The yards, though.
Aaron Rodgers, that you got to remember, he fluctuates between like 50 to like 28, 26 touchdowns.
But I mean, that's fair on the touchdowns. But I'm saying every year he's good for about at 4,000 plus yards.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I wouldn't
true,
be
but it could
surprised
be
if
a
this is
Drew
the first year
Brees
he dips below
distributed Danny.
4,000 yards.
That's fair.
He had 4,100 last year.
Okay. Yeah,
And
it was
now
just-
he doesn't have, Devontae Adams or
That's
Marquez
true.
Valdez-Scantling. Not that he really matters.
he did also miss what, a game or two last year. I think maybe just one game
I wouldn't be surprised if you saw like 5 of these receivers have like
with
600 yards.
600 yards. Oh, so that's like biggest gonna play. Okay.
I'm
I
actually gonna
put-
go overrated on Alan Lazard.
Dobbs
It's
Dobbs
just
is
a little
difficult.
Too high.
Dobbs at
I can
85,
see
I'd put
why.
slightly underrated. And then the rest overrated. I don't care for anyone else after Dobbs.
See,
I'm on
I
the
think
fence on
that
Dobbs.
I think Romeo Dobbs, Amari Rodgers, and Randall Cobb have all the upside you were just talking about, but they are significantly cheaper. Are they really that much worse than Alan Lazard?
I think in the case of Randall Cobb, they're like very similar. That's why, you know what? I'm going to switch Randall Cobb to underrated.
Oh God.
I think Randall Cobb could come out and be halfway decent.
It's 2022, guys.
Aaron Rodgers was willing to retire because Randall Cobb was not on his team.
I do not care about Randall Cobb.
Dude, he's only 31. You're acting like he was born with the fucking dinosaurs.
I mean, sure, but when was the last time he was like fantasy relevant?
I don't think he's going to be like
With the dinosaurs.
relevant, but I just think
The dinosaurs.
I think he's going to be very similar to Alan Lazard, and so for that
Oh
reason,
no, he's not. He's not going to be close to Lazard.
I mean, he was
Outside of an injury.
last year he had 400 yards. Alan Lazard had 500 yards. Except the difference was last year Randall Cobb played 11 games. Alan Lazard played 15.
I don't
So
see it. How many touchdowns did he have?
I don't care about touchdowns because regression's a thing. But Alan Lazard had 8. Randall Cobb had, pulling it up.
Dude, remember freaking, what was that guy? James Jones?
Randall Cobb had 5.
He was
which is
washed
pretty
coming
similar.
back from the Raiders that year, wasn't he? And then he went back to the Packers and was nice for like a season. Wasn't that a thing? Or am I getting that completely wrong?
I think you might be right.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, you're hating on a player who is worth 533 points.
Yeah. That's literally
Acting like you gotta
think
pay a
most
second for this guy.
Yeah, I think most leagues he's probably fringe. Well, I can probably tell right now, right?
I wouldn't waste
He's
a roster spot
rostered
on
in
Randall
he's
Cobb.
rostered in 60% of leagues. So in 40%, he's literally free.
Yeah.
You can just pick him up right now.
It's not worth the spot on my roster.
Hater. This one was actually pretty easy for me. I think the entire Vikings team was easy. Oh, Jake and I are in lockstep here. Justin Jefferson. I think I still have Jamar Chase in my wide receiver 1, but I'd be much closer to putting Justin Jefferson over him than anyone else at wide receiver 3 over Justin Jefferson at wide receiver 2. So that's pretty easy. I'm feeling just, I mean, for all intents and purposes, he's like essentially a free.
If he
path
plays, he's
to-
productive. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just injuries.
I just think fact of the matter is this is one of the league's top passing attacks, and outside of Justin Jefferson, it is not priced like that.
Not.
Yeah, it's hard to convince me to buy into Osborne or Emir Smith-Marset or Olabisi Johnson.
Dude, KJ Osborne was nice last
Osborne
year.
I like a little bit.
Yeah, he's nice.
He's all right.
But
I still 76. It's kind of
pretty low.
It's not like free is my thing, and so for that, I'm gonna say overrated.
Okay,
he's not free.
He's not.
The guy had like 800 yards last year. What do you expect him to be? Nothing.
I don't want to pay, so yeah, that's why I'm gonna say he's overrated.
You don't want to pay a third?
Not really for KJ Osborne.
I'd pay a third.
Okay, that's fair.
Because all right, we have the Hunter Henry litmus test. My thing is, if Will Fuller walks on to any of these teams, like which guys like immediately become irrelevant? And to me, I think KJ Osborne.
I mean, when Will Fuller's healthy, sure, but part of the reason he's still on.
All right, that's part of my test. A healthy Will Fuller walks. Okay. Also, I was like very surprised to hear KJ Osborne had 800 yards. He only had 650.
A healthy Will Fuller. Have we ever seen that?
If Will Fuller was always healthy, he'd be on a multi-year deal right now.
Yeah, if a unicorn walked into my horse stable, would be the best horse.
Frank, you oversold KJ Osborne by 150 yards, which is significant considering he had 650 yards total.
Yeah, it's a lot of yards. 6'8", the same number. You're just missing a little guy at the top.
I mean, that's the difference between like a wide receiver like 2 season and wide receiver like 4. If he had 800 yards and 7 touchdowns like he did, I think that puts him at fringe wide receiver 2.
Yeah, exactly. You just need 150 more yards. Boom. It's worth a first.
I don't know where he's getting that 150 more yards.
He's taking it from Will Fuller's finger when he signs with the Vikings and doesn't play.
Yeah.
I don't know how it's turned into. I guess I brought Will Fuller into this. I'm sorry, Will. I didn't mean for this slander to happen. All right. Another kind of long episode.
Yeah, it's become the norm. Whatever.
It's our summers of long episodes. But yeah, if you chilled with us for this long, thank you. You're troopers.
We won't be live tomorrow. We're gonna continue our strong segment next week.
Should we just go live in Florida?
I mean, maybe I need to get Rob Gronkowski off my roster like yesterday. I'm out 1,000 points.
Oh, wait for next week.
Yeah, I'm just
so that JT can lose more points.
I have no Julio Jones and Will Fuller.
You're trapped.
Sign with teams real quick.
You're trapped.
Dude, just go to Tin Roof and just start interviewing random people about fantasy takes. Like,
it's like when like Robinhood like wouldn't let like people sell like their crypto and everything was crashing. Like that's you guys with Gronk. This segment.
You guys are the man shutting us down. Whatever the group was that.
Yeah, you're Robinhood. That means it's not a good thing.
Yeah. This is the face of Robinhood. That is a face.
Oh, don't do that. I'm not the face of Robinhood. Absolutely not the face of Robinhood.
All right. Well, yeah. Thank you guys so much for chilling. Joe Herbert, P to the R. We love you guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah. See you next week. Peace out.